Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Cropper here. I'd like to inaugurate a new series. Let's call it the Philosophy of Science and Logic. We're going to start with an introduction to Aristotle, translation by McKeon. And we're going to do Posterior Analytics. We have just a couple of paragraphs we're going to quote from the introduction to Posterior Analytica. We're skipping the 30-page introduction to the book generally. The extant logical writings of Aristotle are 16 treatises, traditionally grouped under one name, the Organon. We skip down. Quote, Aristotle's discussion of scientific knowledge in the Posterior Analytics is the source of many of the distinctions and most of the technical terms used in stating the distinctions that have been important in the theories of scientific method developed by later logicians. Okay, later logicians have found Aristotle's works very important. Yet his formulation of the problems of scientific proof, although it involves the differentiation of induction and deduction. Now we're going to look at the difference between induction and deduction, and supposedly it wasn't solved by Aristotle, nor anyone up until the modern day. Leonard Peikoff has taken a stab at it. He's too modest to come out and give his opinion of whether or not he thinks it's solved, but what he says is there's not a problem of induction. So in a sense he has solved it, hasn't he? And he's saying so. He doesn't say he solved everyone's questions about it. He says everyone's questions are wrong. There's not a problem of induction. But it takes him like 14 hours to say that, so it's worth listening to every single second of that. That's induction in physics and philosophy. Induction in physics and philosophy. Deduction is going from known knowledge and staying with inside that knowledge set. Induction, or inference, is taking known knowledge and going outside of your knowledge set and claiming knowledge that you haven't verified, and oftentimes claiming knowledge you could never verify. For example, if you claim to know that the distant stars are operated by gravitational forces just like this star we live near, you can never get there in a spaceship and test it with a ruler and smell it and touch it and see if it's a regular Newton star. You can't do that. It's impossible. But you can know. You can know about things that are so far away and impossible to get to. That's induction. That's inference. Benjamin Franklin properly induced when he said every single lightning storm is an electrical storm. You don't have to go to Bombay. You don't have to go to China. You don't have to go to different places and test and see if every different time there's a storm, is it electricity this time? Oh, is it electricity this time? Oh, how about tomorrow? Oh, how about the next day? He knew by proper inductive methods, as did Newton. That's induction. And now let's not mention Sherlock Holmes, although I just did, because he didn't have proper deductive or inductive methods. He was silly. But now continuing. And the rest of that sentence just confuses, so let's move on a bit here. The problems of scientific proof, as he treated them, center about two processes. So the two problems he recognizes are telling somebody about something and finding out about something. Okay? Communicating knowledge to somebody or gathering knowledge from the world. Those are the two parts of science that Aristotle recognizes. All instruction by way of argument proceeds from pre-existent knowledge, right? Whenever you're arguing, whenever you just come up and say things, you have to be using things you know already. You should be. I mean, Aristotle wouldn't be able to conceive of what's going on today. But, quote, whether the argument be deductive or inductive, all instruction by way of argument proceeds from pre-existent knowledge, both inductive and deductive, and the problems of scientific proof, so viewed, are concerned with the principles of the sciences and the condition of inference from the principles. Aristotle undertook to prove that each science had first principles proper to it, and that an infinite regress of premises is impossible. Now all that comes with a bit of packaging there, so let's just put in our pocket the idea, and you might decide you don't like that idea later. But while we are investigating Aristotle, just put that idea in your pocket, that there cannot be an infinite regress. There cannot be an infinite ascent nor an infinite regress. So, quote, therefore predication must terminate in both the upward and the downward direction. That is, in ascent to generality and descent to particularity. And there must be a finite number of steps between the most universal and the most particular. So any piece of knowledge we claim, any way that we're going to state it to somebody, the things that we're going to have to say to state it to them, have to refer in reality to things that can be pointed at in a finite way. After some finite number of steps, you have to reach the senses, is what it's going to come to.